Hello, everyone. Welcome to the presentation, which was in the format of 6 minutes and 40 seconds, and it was delivered at the Iconic Houses Conference in Prague on May 22, 2023 at the National Technical Library. The Villa Čerych in Česká Skalice from 1924 has been recently acquired by the Kaplický Center with the objective to reconstruct it and open it for general public and for architects and artists. In its presentation, we can benefit from its rich history. It is an architectural jewel that says a lot about Czech modern architecture, especially after Czechoslovakia was established in 1918. It's also a design jewel because the architect and the investors employed many exquisite designers to furbish the villa. It's a garden design jewel, as well as it shows how fabric production business was important and successful in the area at that time. And now we want to connect it with contemporary art and architecture as well. First, it plays an extraordinary role in its architect's work. Otakar Novotný was a pupil of Jan Kotěra, who was considered a founder of Czech modern architecture since he brought new way of thinking from Otto Wagner's Viennese studio to Czechia. Same as Kotěra, Novotný came up with many innovations, but was also deeply rooted in historic traditions. First, he started designing in a vernacular style. Then he moved on towards neo-Baroque mannerism. Later, he appropriated the rational modernist style from Kotěra to come up with very original cubist creations. Then, at the beginning of the 1920s, his style changed again. Same as Kotěra, he believed that architecture and interiors are supposed to be designed as a gesamtkunstwerk, a total work of art, and that they are supposed to be unified. Jan Kotěra was a big source of inspiration, also in Novotný's interior and furniture designs. Novotný became very popular among the bourgeois clientele. He was able to connect the old with the new. Same as other modernist architects, even for his most ascetic architectural designs, like Čeněk Zemánek's house in Holice from 1910, he found inspiration in the luxury of Biedermeier in the furniture types and shapes and forms of modern Baroque and Classicism. In 1920, the hunger for a new style arose. Czechoslovakia needed a new distinctive decorative style. History, as well as folk tradition, vernacularism, especially embroideries and ceramics, became its sources. This style was defined mostly by Josef Gočár and Pavel Janák, but Novotný also experimented with it, but he kept being more variable. The design for Villa Čerych is rooted in these events of early 1920s. However, the architects soon discovered that the new national style cannot be universal. So some of them, like Novotný, moved towards more universal shapes and forms, such as the international Art Deco. In the Villa Čerych, not only old meets the new, but also the national meets the international. So the disposition is new and traditional at the same time. The central staircase hall is surrounded by practically and pragmatically situated roofs. Their layout and separation of the private and public and practical and representational can remind us the house am Horn that was developed by the Bauhaus at the same time, and it influenced Czech architects on a big scale. The representational interiors on the ground floor were designed by Novotný together with other designers to show off the status of the owners. Novotný was inspired by the glamorous shapes of neo-Baroque and neo-Renaissance and also the comfortable modern Biedermeier furniture types. At the same time, Novotný was dealing with a bigger question. What is the universal Czech house that can be employed for working class as well as for the middle class and for the bourgeois? He came up with a significant type that differs only in the size, not in the form, since the workers were also supposed to be entitled to beauty. The triangular gable with multiple ledges and moderate floral ornaments were the main features. The Čerych family employed great designers for the interior decorations. One of them was František Kysela, who came up with beautiful mural paintings combining folk inspirations with classical floral patterns. The second one was Karel Dvořák, sculptor who worked with Novotný before, usually designing decorative metal bars. Both of them were members of the School of Applied Arts circles, where Novotný also studied, and Kotěra and Kysela were professors. Both Kysela and Dvořák worked for the Čerichs' relatives before, as well as Novotný. Kysela worked for the Čerichs' father-in-law, Josef Bartoň z Dobenínas, on the new decorations of his castle in Nové Město nad Metují, and also he decorated his brother-in-law's Zdeněk Bartoň z Dobenínas villa in Náchod, which was designed by Pavel Janák. Novotný worked for another family member, Cyril Bartoň z Dobenína, when he designed his city mansion in Náchod. The exterior is cladded with sandstone, like northern Italian Renaissance palaces. The interiors are equipped in a Biedermeier style, even though the Bartoň z Dobenína were not a traditional aristocratic family. They have received their status only in 1912, but they wanted to look like one. Novotný and Karel Dvořák worked for another distant relative, who was also a successful local businessman, Rudolf Steinský Sehnoutka. First, Novotný designed a very progressive workers' dormitories and a canteen in Černožice, close to Hradec Králové, which was later celebrated by the international avant-garde. It was clearly inspired by August Perret's industrial contemporary designs. In 1927, he designed Steinský Sehnoutka's city palace in Hradec Králové, in the same style as the Bartoň z Dobenína's Náchod mansion. Renaissance-like palace from the outside and modern Baroque and modern Biedermeier style in the inside. The frieze was designed and executed by Karel Dvořák. As we can see, Villa Čerich is part of a significant network of relationships, business and artistic, and its heritage. It is also a garden design jewel. It was designed by Josef Kumpán, one of the leading garden and park designers in the 1920s and 1930s. He was able to come up with very creative and rich compositions. The garden was probably one of the most extensive and spectacular designs of Josef Kumpán, at least at the time, combining utility garden, relaxation garden, formal garden, British-style garden with a rose garden, large pond, and a gazebo. In the future, the villa will present the work of another artist, Josef Kaplický, who was a close friend of Novotný from the Mánes organization, and his son Jan Kaplický's inspirational organic contemporary architecture. It aims to become a house museum, presenting its rich design and artistic history, as well as the past and heritage of the local business families. It will also become a creative center for art and film schools and individual emerging artists and collaborative projects.